What is a friend? What does it mean to be a friend? Jesus says to us that He calls us now friends, no longer servants. Servants, He said, they don't know the whole story. They don't know all of what's going on. But a friend, a true friend, knows everything that's going on in your life. And so it seems to me that for someone to be a friend, for you to be in a friendship, that friendship has to be life-giving. Think the way that statement, life-giving, comes out. It has to be taken apart for just a moment. Friendship has to be life-giving. It has to give you life. If you have friends, you don't have to raise your hand on this. If you are friends with people who always seem to succeed in taking you down a notch, who always have a negative thing to share with you, and probably when you're not around, a negative thing to share about you, that's not life-giving. That's not going to build you up. It's not going to lift you out. Those kinds of friends, the best thing you can do is get rid of them. That can happen in real life. It can also happen on Facebook. I mean, I've been unfriended before. Maybe it's time to look over the list and see if there are people that we need to unfriend because they're not life-giving in our lives. Because we all know that we have some friends in there that probably need to be weeded out, right? One blog that I was reading last week suggests that studies have been done that show that healthy friendships can increase and have a real positive impact on our well-being. Did you know that? That your friendships can have an impact on how well you are doing physically as well as emotionally. The claim is that having good friends can increase your lifespan up to 50%. I don't know if that's actually true. Some of us be saying, I don't want to live that long. But even if a part of that figure is true, even if it was only 10%, wouldn't that be a good thing? It went on to say that having friends can double the chance of getting through a life-threatening illness, can double your chance of surviving cancer. It can greatly decrease your risk of heart disease. It can even protect you against bacterial infection. As the blogger pointed out, having friends is important. Having the right friend, he suggests, can even greatly increase the possibility of having eternal life. There's only one friend that can do that. Having the right friends can make you healthier, more successful, more attractive to others. But having an unhealthy or a toxic friend can actually decrease your salary, can cause frequent outbreaks of some skin conditions. I know some of you are saying, I will read this study, Pastor. And have over time been shown to affect the number of likes and retweets that you have on your Facebook and Instagram accounts. No, that's not Instagram, right? Twitter. It's Twitter. Anyway, you tell which I use and which I don't use. They have a statistically negative effect on you, as well as increasing your level of stress, anxiety, and susceptibility to debilitating depression. What kind of friends do you have? What kind of friends do you want? What kind of friends do you need? It is important for us to have friends, but it is also important that they be the right friends and that we be with them in a right relationship. Because friendship gives us life. Friendship is life-giving. But I said beginning that we might need to take that word apart, and I think that we do need to take a look to say, what does it mean when we say friendship is life-giving? Friends may not just be life-giving to us in terms of how we feel overall, but sometimes friends are even prepared to give their life. A friend of mine, and one who happens to have a great name, her name is Andrea. Of course, I would think that's a great name, right? Andrea Walker. She's an ELCA pastor. She used to serve a congregation in the Bronx while I was serving my first call congregation in Queens. And that's how we met, through collegial interactions. I remember when her church had revival meeting at her church, and my whole van got filled up and we drove from Queens to the Bronx for special meetings. She now works as the area program director for the West Africa desk at the ELCA Office of Global Mission. And let me tell you, my sister, she travels a lot. On Facebook recently, she requested prayers for her next trip. And on May 6th, she reported in a simple line, "Made it to Liberia." Liberia? Anybody here making plans to go there? To Liberia? What with the Ebola outbreak and everything else that's going on? Even though the reports are out just this weekend that Liberia, which was the center of the Ebola epidemic just last year, is now considered to be Ebola-free. Now think back for a moment, because last year, I think maybe around November, they were talking about that by January come around there would be millions of people infected and that it was going to be a global epidemic. And now here it is, May of the following year, and the very center of that epidemic is Ebola-free. Ebola-free means there have been no new cases reported for at least 42 days, which is double the incubation period of 21 days that Ebola needs. She writes, "Pray that the World Health Organization gives the Ebola-free all clear in the next week or so." Well, the WHO has given it. They have given the all clear. And people in Liberia are celebrating. They're celebrating quietly. They're celebrating quietly because they know they need to keep up their vigilance, because they are surrounded by Guinea and Sierra Leone who are still seeing some new cases. They say they're out of the woods, but we're not quite through the woods yet. So how did they do it? Certainly with international cooperation. Medical professionals who literally risk their lives to treat people with this disease. Doctors Without Borders on the forefront of going in, and so many other amazing organizations and nations. But a UNICEF official noted this: the communities were the heroes in this fight. They took on Ebola and decided enough is enough. And so credit goes to the neighborhood groups that literally rooted out the virus by going house to house and slowly turning the tide on the outbreak. My friend Andrea notes, the first thing off the shuttle from the plane, we were directed to go wash our hands. She says, because the Liberians are serious about being Ebola-free and staying that way. Thanks be to God, she writes. You see, that's what it takes. People giving of themselves, even risking themselves, even up to risking giving their own well-being and even their own lives in a gesture of friendship and kinship and belonging. They made it happen. Jesus knew about that too. When he said, "No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for their friends." It may seem rare to us that somebody would lay down their life for a friend. But Jesus still puts people in our lives regularly, people who are willing and able and ready to lay down their lives for us. And we have a word for those kinds of friends. We call them mothers. We celebrate them today. In our history, there have always been mothers, and to be fair and to be sure, parents, because fathers as well, who have needed to actually give their life for their children's sake. And even today, if we don't experience having to give our own physical lives, even today, mothers give of themselves. Mothers put their own dreams on hold so that their children's dreams might become a reality. And I would dare to say that many mothers, if you ask them, they would say their new dream is that their children's dreams would become that reality. In the long run, you see, it's that which we give up that gives us the greatest joy. Not for us to say we've made it in the world, not to score our own accomplishments and make marks and say, I've got more of these than you do. In our confirmation class, we call people who tally that way, we call them big deals. People who think they are big deals. Well, Jesus isn't about big deals. Rather, it's not about saying, I've made it, but what about you? It's about saying, how do I make someone else's life count? What do I do so that somebody else has an opportunity that they wouldn't have had otherwise? That's when Jesus, who reminds us that we did not choose him, but he chose us, says to us, I have appointed you to go and bear fruit. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you. That you can give up the things that you think are important in life and give them over, that you might have my joy. And not only that you would have joy, but that your joy would be made complete. So this morning, for anyone, for everyone, who has given of themselves in a life-giving way to you, to others, mothers and those who have been mothers to others in life, even if they weren't the biological mothers, my prayer is this: may God's joy rise up in you and make you complete as you bear the fruit that God has appointed for you to grow. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.